right. The trade deadline has come and gone. It's over. Whoever you have on your team now, with the exception of Matthew Nyes, because college rules are funny, is who you try to win the 2023 Stanley Cup with. So the question is, can the Toronto Maple Leafs do it? Did Kyle Dubas and company make this team better? The only question I'll ask first is, if you think you know which way it's going to go, head on over to Sports Interaction. Puck Drop Sports Interaction has you covered pregame, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Want to bet? Head over to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN and download the Sports Interaction app, but only if you're 19 plus, and please play responsibly. Let's take a look at what the Leafs did over this trade season. Not this trade deadline day, this trade season. It's funny. I wonder if the deadline, this trade deadline, is going to be looked back on like a dud. Because it's not. It's just that it started 2-3 weeks early. And it happens every year. Well, there will be a few early ones. The Leafs got in on the action with Jake Muzzin pretty early a few years ago. But this was absolutely fast and furious ridiculousness. There was the Bo Horvat trade from Vancouver to the Islanders. And then there was Tarasenko, kind of surprisingly, going from St. Louis to the Rangers. They ended up getting Patrick Kane anyway. And it felt like once the Leafs made this deal for Ryan O'Reilly, all bets were off. Reminder for that deal, the Leafs didn't give up any prospect of significance, only Mikhail Abramov, who may end up playing in the NHL, but we'll still see. They gave up nothing off their roster and just picks for Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari, who's going to be a big part of this team, and even a prospect in Josh Pillar, who they may or may not sign. Imagine they do, and he ends up giving NHL games to the Leafs out of this deal. That would be masterful. It's not going to help them win the Stanley Cup this year, though. Ryan O'Reilly, yeah, he might just. Well, he's not having a very good season. His numbers aren't very good. Yeah, it turns out when you take him off one of the worst teams in the league and you put him on a line with John Tavares and Mitch Marner, he's pretty good. The idea of having Ryan O'Reilly as a third-line center is definitely tantalizing, and Sheldon Keefe has flirted with it. But the problem is, O'Reilly is too good at playing with Tavares and one of Marner or Nylander. He essentially does not lose faceoffs because he knows if he loses a faceoff, he's going to get kicked out, and they'll just bring in John Tavares, another one of the best faceoff guys in the entire league. O'Reilly's winning like 70, 75, 80% of the draws he takes. Zero hyperbole. Oh, and he's already got a hat trick and more multi-goal games in Buffalo as a Leaf than he did as a Sabre. LOL. After that, once again, the Leafs make another big deal. This one helps them now and next year and the year after that. They make a deal with the Chicago Blackhawks to get Jake McCabe, 50% retained next year and the year after, which is wild, and Sam Lafferty. And once again, the Leafs do not give up a roster player or a prospect of significance. Pavel Gogolev was playing ECHL games for them, and Joey Anderson, while actually a decent depth player for the Leafs, was currently playing in the minors. This is a good deal for Joey Anderson. He's going to go to the Blackhawks, where he's going to play all sorts of minutes. Contract year, too, for the guy. He could end up in the NHL full-time next year, especially if he re-signs in Chicago. But enough about him. Enough about them. Did the Leafs get better? Yes! Now, we haven't seen enough of Sam Lafferty. He's only played 2 games on the 4th line on the road in Alberta. Jake McCabe, after a little bit of the early jitters against the Edmonton Oilers, played an extremely good game in one of the Leafs' best defensive performances of the season, especially in the 3rd period against the Calgary Flames. The Leafs' D-core was notably meaner, and he wasn't the only reason. Because they went out and got Luke Schenn as well. Oh, from the vibes. From the vibe standpoint alone, it has been an out-of-body experience watching Luke Schenn put on a not horrible version of the Leafs logo. Seriously, how do we cheer for that logo for so long? The new logo looks so good on him. It looks even better on the championship MVP belt that he got to wear after last game. Can you tell I'm fired up? After that thing, after seeing him, after him laying cross-checks that are illegal, except for, when the ref feels like it's not illegal, which is coming up, by the way. Cross-checks are going to be legal in like a month. They are. Those are the rules. Now, this one, though, unfortunately comes at a cost. Not Luke Schenn specifically, but it starts to catch up with the team. They have Matt Murray on LTIR. They're going to have to activate Matt Murray off of LTIR. So that's when the Leafs had to shed a bit. Losing Pierre Engvall hurts from a speed standpoint and from a versatility standpoint. He probably wasn't going to be on the second power play unit, but he can give you good penalty killing. He's the fastest guy on the team, maybe outside of Calle Jarnkrok. That's sort of up for debate. He's a frustrating player. He is simultaneously a decent depth scorer and where scoring chances go to die. You could make the cheeky argument that he was the only roster player the Leafs lost. Steve, what about Rasmus Sandin? I got news for you. With the addition of Luke Schenn and Jake McCabe, I don't think Sandin was getting in this lineup. We were talking about it leading up to the trade and what if the Leafs got McCabe, and we kept trying to say, oh yeah, Justin Hall's going to come out. That's obviously not the case now that we know that. And not even just this playoff run, like going forward. Jake McCabe is going to be a Leaf this season and the year after and the year after at $2 million. After being sort of a lineup tweener for the Leafs this is probably his third year in a row now, I think Rasmus Sandin was sick of it. He wants an opportunity, and he's going to get a great one in Washington. And somehow, out of that, the Leafs get another depth defenseman in Erik Gustafsson. There's another defenseman. Add that to Jordy Ben and Victor Mete and Carl Dahlstrom, even though he hasn't played a game yet. Matt Hollowell give you good games. And you get a first-round pick. And that first-round pick belongs to Boston, which gives you added incentive to cheer against the Bruins. Steve, I was already cheering against the Bruins. Great! This will make it even better when the Leafs beat them in round 2. Now, you speak it into existence. Don't give me that look. Don't you chuckle, Drew! It's great. I can actually yell at you in person. It's been a while. Hey, man. So at the end of all of this, all that lead up, did the Leafs get better? To me, there's two perceived weaknesses. You can't really say the defense anymore because the defense has actually been quite good this season, and they made improvements in areas where they needed to. Not only are they going to be better defensively, but they're going to be better at blocking shots and hitting guys and wearing the other team down, especially when it comes to game 5 and game 6 and game 7 of a series. Even though the Leafs have taken great strides in terms of their defensive play over the last few years, there's a good reason why the other team always appears to be fresh as a daisy for games 5, 6, and 7. So what about the goaltending? I already talked about this on the SDPN YouTube channel. I like the Leafs as a regular season goaltending team. Matt Murray can give you good games. Samsonov can give you good games. Woll can give you good games. Shelgren can give you good games. They're 4 goalies deep. But in the playoffs, you need one. All right? You need one. And if one falters, you go to the other. But you need one. Who's it going to be come game 1? If all of them are healthy, we're going to assume all of them are healthy. We don't know the answer. Samsonov seems to be the obvious one. He's given you the most games and the most good games, but faltered a little bit recently. Matt Murray is a complete wild card because he did give the Leafs a bunch of good games and then a bunch of terrible ones. And then he went on LTIR, and now we just completely go into the unknown with him in March. Joseph Woll, I think, is a great NHL-ready goaltender who has played half a dozen career games. And then, of course, there's Shelgren. No offense, but please no. Dubas has been bullish on the Leafs goaltending for a while. What was out there? Who were the Leafs going to go out and get to improve their goaltending? You can say Thatcher Demko. I can't imagine the cost, and I would love to know how on earth they would have made that fit under the cap. Karel Vejmelka? There's a player with term left on his deal. I imagine the Coyotes will make you pry him from their cold, dead hands. And by that, I mean a couple draft picks because they have no interest in winning ever. Draft picks that the Leafs just don't have. So the Leafs are at least confident in their depth at goaltending. Fine. To me, the perceived weakness with this team still after the deadline is left wing. You have guys who are good on the left wing. Michael Bunting has given you lots of good games there. Is John Tavares a left winger now? And is it full time? Who's going to play with O'Reilly if he's the full time third line center? Is it Kerfoot? Is Jarnkrok then up with John Tavares? Are we comfortable with Jarnkrok in the top 6 during the playoffs? And then I guess deep down in the depth, you have Zach Aston Reese or like Radim Zohorna now? I was much, much more worried about the Leafs left wing position at the beginning of last night's game against the Calgary Flames. And I know it's a small sample size and it's only one game. It wasn't even the whole game. It was only part of one. But even though the Leafs had 11 forwards against the Calgary Flames. They're not usually going to do that. Sheldon Keefe was having so much fun loading up the lines. John Tavares on the left of Matthews and Marner. Keep Tavares with O'Reilly and Marner or Nylander. There was one shift I saw bunting O'Reilly, Nylander. The Leafs have a versatile forward group, so maybe I'm not thinking outside the box enough looking at the left wing. Sheldon Keefe and his staff like Sheldon Keefe and his staff like changing up their personnel, especially up front, based on situation. O-zone starts, D-zone starts, screwing up matchups on the road for the other team. And in the playoffs, how much are you going to see of the fourth line and the third pair really? So maybe we've been asking the wrong question, because this started with, are the Leafs better? Yes, of course they're better. Almost every team that is currently in a playoff spot or trying to be in a playoff spot is better than they were last week. That's what the trade deadline is, man. It's not about are the Leafs better. It's can they win a playoff series? Actually, even better, can they win 4? Because at the end of this, the goal is to win the Stanley Cup. It's not just the favorites like the Bruins and the Rangers. Like, dude, the Sens are trying to win the Cup. They bought, they're not out of it. They're trying to win the Cup. Everyone should try to win the Cup. Just give me a round. Screw that. Win the Cup. Can the Leafs do that? Well, first they got to get through Tampa. Can the Leafs beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a playoff series? My answer is yes, because they could have beaten them last year. They could have beaten the Montreal Canadiens the season before, and the Blue Jackets, and the Bruins, and the Bruins, and the Bruins. Oh, forgot about the Capitals. This is cute when you forget trauma. The Leafs have had the talent and the personnel to at least have some playoff success for a number of years now. They keep running into really good opponents, and let's be honest here, they choke a little bit. They choke. I don't think they choked last year against Tampa. They choked against Montreal. But you're adding guys who have been there. Lafferty has actually been part of some Penguins runs. Noel Acciari was part of the Bruins when they beat the Leafs twice. Ryan O'Reilly not only won a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues, he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. If the Leafs are not able to do it in the first round this year, I don't know who to blame. And you could scream Kyle Dubas at the camera. Well, I'm screaming it at the camera. You can scream it at the screen. What would you have done differently? Gotten better at basically every position. They have exhausted every dollar of the salary cap, and they have left contingencies. They have just enough money and one more contract slot, and we all know who it's going to be used on. It's going to be used on Matthew Knies, who will join the team whenever his college season is done, probably with 3 games to go in the season, and then he'll have to figure things out quick and hopefully be an impact player for the team. There's your help on the left wing. So can they? Yes. Will they? I would love to use Kyle Dubas's words. We can and we will. The next 5 weeks, we have practice. Can you believe there's still 20 games to go? Buckle up. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. We have a number of videos of deadline coverage on this channel, on my YouTube channel, and also so many on the SDPN Sports YouTube channel. Check that out. Check out the Game Over stream that we did. There's a new episode of Noxie and Cax, and there's also a new episode of our brand new F1 show with Tim Hauraney. You like F1? Well, we have an F1 show with Tim Hauraney. No end to the content that we have on this channel and with SDPN. Subscribe to both, for the love of goodness, you silly goose.